Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along then to round 4 of the 2015 World GT Series season. We're halfway there in what has been a fantastic opening year to the transition to R Factor 2. And we have hopefully another very exciting round on our hands as we've travelled back to the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve in Portugal. My name is James Kirk on solo comms for you today, but I'm sure at some point throughout the broadcast. And the man who is manning our cameras for today, thank you very much to Joshua Anderson, who has stepped in last minute. It's much appreciated to have people who are able to jump in box at a quick time of asking. But anyway, let's get down to business, shall we? We're currently in qualifying with 11 minutes to go. If you've only just joined us to have a little look and a gander at the series, then it's a 15-minute qualifying, unlimited laps. If you escape out on track and go back out again, it's a grid penalty for the next race. So make sure that you go back into your pit boxes once you're done with your run. The story in qualifying has been dominated by Peru, pretty much. We've had two brand new drivers join the league in the last year, and both have proved very adept in World GT. Luis Felipe Capamajan and his compatriot Nico Barclay, both driving for Scuderia Basilia. They have taken all three pole positions so far, with Capamajan taking 2 and Barclay taking 1, and indeed the latest, which was last time out at Istanbul Park. Capamajan has been looking strong once again, though. He didn't top the free practice session, which we have just come out of, but does have the fastest time on server, and indeed up there in P1 once again with a 1:40.7. We've seen times a little bit lower than that, but of course the trick with R Factor 2 in its real road is that the track continues to rubber in and tracks will continue to decrease, so we can't really say for sure what sort of times we're going to be seeing near the end of the session. What we are certainly guaranteed, though, is an exciting qualification session. Hopefully we're going to see a number of drivers in and around the same time zone. I'm just having a little flick through the drives to see who's coming up to start a new lap. I think let's go on board, with Pedro Gomez here in P3. Pedro, who has taken to R Factor 2 like a duck upon water and has shown very good speed in both the Atlantic Series and indeed the World GT Series. We're going to go on board with him here, heading down into the dynamic turn 1. It's a downhill braking zone. It means that you can actually brake a lot later than you want to. Oh, sorry, a little earlier than you want to actually. Well, don't want to carry too much speed into turns 2 and into turn 3 now. This is Lagos, there we are. And then into a very difficult uphill left-hander here, turn 4. You don't want to get on the power too early there, otherwise you're going to be flying wide or indeed spinning up your wheels and spinning around before we now head downhill into turn 5 at Toro VIP. A little bit of a camber in comparison to the R Factor 1 version of this track, which we were running earlier this year with the World Sports Series and the Career Ladder, but different builds suit different drivers. For example, this is a lot more flat in R Factor 2 and a lot more cambered in R Factor 2 as well. A little bit more like the actual track itself, and then downhill and uphill into my favourites named corner around this track, Craig Jones, as we head into turn 10, Portimao, to which Algarve is often shortened to. And going downhill once again, a very undulating track is Algarve, a wonderful spectacle to behold. So we head up now into turn 12, the final 3 corners here of this track, as we head downhill once again into Sagre, turn 13. And then we have a short run out of this corner onto the final corner of this track, turn 14, also known as Gulp. And I'm sure that there's going to be a number of drivers gulping if they go a little bit too wide here. But Pedro Gomez laying off there and actually coming into the pit, so you won't see that full speed there. But that is your little tour of the circuit Algarve. Luis Felipe Capamajan up top, extending his lead to a 1:40.4 seconds. The Peruvian actually coming across the line now, so we'll see whether he can further improve that provisional pole time. And indeed he does, to a 1:40.3. Excuse me. So Luis looking for his 3rd pole position of the year. Our championship leader as well is Capamajan by an extraordinary 28 points at this stage. He'll be loving the domination which he has over this series, and it was a domination which was under a bit of threat for a time being, thanks to a potential mod update, which we shall discuss that in warm-up. But for now, we've got to focus on the qualifiers here with 7.5 minutes to go. Looking down the rest of the top 10, Reece Gardner currently in P2, an excellent effort for the Australian so far, who had a wonderful time in his last outing in R Factor 2 at the Fremont Street Circuit in Atlantic Series with an all-time high finish in Las Vegas. Then we've got Gomez third, Jacobs fourth, Churgwin fifth, second in the championship, Lewis McGlade sixth, Marius Nicolay in seventh for Walk Racing, Tero Dahlberg in eighth, and in the garage, so I do wonder whether he's quit out on track potentially. Philip Morby in P9, and rounding out the top 10 is Brett Metcalf for Amaroli Racing Team, and one of the teams that is down the bottom of the table. I'm pretty sure Amaroli will be very happy to see Brett up in the top 10 there. Currently, we have 23 drivers out of 30 drivers in the server, so a decent turnout, but generally in the summer months, and especially in these final couple of weeks before the summer break, it's pretty common to see drivers just, laying off a bit, maybe not turning up to your event. We hope you're going to have a huge resurgence once again once we return in a month's time, because of course I guess that's one thing that we don't get here at World GT is a summer break per se. We only get these races once per month, so gotta take them as they come and enjoy the breaks as they happen. 6 minutes to go, and Kapamajan is in the garage. Reece Gardner is in the sand, and there's a 6/10 gap between Gardner and Kapamajan at the moment, which is pretty big, to be honest. As I'm hearing a psst. I wonder if my cameraman's interested in telling me anything, whether it's just I'm guessing it's just button pressing. Never mind. But anyway, there we are actually, yeah, Thomas Jacobs. Good shout. Thomas Jacobs has just gone up into P2, and Jacobs was a threat for the win last time out in Istanbul. He made a one-stop strategy work and got a P2 out of it as well. It was an excellent effort from the Englishman. Actually, no, sorry, I lied. It was a P3. He almost took P2, though, which was Luis Felipe Kapamajan. Only 2/10 away from Luis, as it happens, as well. So the Englishman on a real good vein of form currently for Downforce. It's iZone Downforce Racing, is it? Downforce iZone Racing, sorry. They're second in the championship, but they are 50 or so points behind Scuderia Basilia. To be fair, it's very unlikely that we will see Scuderia Basilia deposed unless something goes horribly wrong for the team in the next 4 rounds. And yes, we do only have 4 rounds left. It's a small championship, this one, which spans a long amount of time, so it does fly by if you don't catch it while it comes along. We got 4.5 minutes left to go. As Jordan Weeks there, well, Jordan Weeks, who was showing good pace in Istanbul, but unfortunately retired from his first World GT race. He's been looking fast, he's been looking threatening to Kapamajan, and he has really put that threat down on pen and paper there. A 140.0 puts him 3/10 clear at the top in that Dash car, also known as a Porsche 997 to you and I. Could Jordan Weeks be a surprise pole contender here today? We certainly would love to see different pole position guys, and I've been saying the table on the wiki, which has our pole positions, fastest laps and race winners proudly displayed there, is very much dominated by Peruvians. The only section which does not have a Peruvian flag pretty much throughout the entire section is the fastest lap, where we've had the likes of Matt Richards and Thomas Jacobs taking fastest laps in the first race and the third race of the season, respectively. Though I see Jordan there made a mistake going into the Samsung corner of turn 8. So we'll see whether Weeks has anything more to come. We're also going to see whether the likes of Kapamajan and Jacobs have something else under their hat, which they can pull out at a moment's notice. It seems like it's very much going to be those three challenging for pole position. Reece Gardner he's now 9/10 off pole position. I'm not sure whether even the Australian will be able to find a little bit here and there. Because actually, I think he is coming around the final corner now. Let's see whether Gardner can improve here from P4. Comes across the line. And no improvement there from Gardner. 2 minutes, 50 seconds to go. Let's have a little peek at who is perhaps a little out of position. Maybe someone who is out of position is Boyd Bryson here, the South African, down in P14. He's been a constant top 10 contender for downforce. We'll probably want to get, if not into the top 10, at least a little bit nearer to it. Who's perhaps bringing a good performance? I think Philip Morby, fair shout out to him, up in the top 10 there. And ahead of Nico Barclay, that is someone who is a little bit out of position. Barclay, who took pole position and the win last time out at Istanbul Park, really struggling down there in P11. He is a full 1.7 seconds off pole position currently. So, worrying times for the Peruvian. Worrying times. I do wonder whether now is the time when a swing in the championship occurs. We shall have to wait and see. As Pedro Gomez there has just jumped up into 4th position, ahead of Rhys Gardner. Is by 0.03 of a second though, so I'm sure that Gomez will be wanting to further improve his time in order to secure that P4 position. Pedro Gomez, he did miss a round unfortunately, and then he retired from Istanbul, so finds himself 13th in the table. A little bit of it's a little bit of a disguise to his true pace though, because we know he does have the pace in these cars, and P4 currently showing why. As Kappa Majan there has improved his time to a 1 minute 40.1, but it is still not enough to overhaul Jordan Weeks. And I'm just looking at where Jordan is on track currently. I think both Jordan and Luis will have one more lap, as will Jacobs probably. So we're looking at probably the penultimate lap here, if not the last lap for a number of these drivers. I see Luke Walsh is already done there in P16 as Pedro Gomez comes in. So Gomez is not going to improve. He's going to be staying there in P4 unless someone can usurp him. Gardner just starting his last lap. Let's have a look here at Matthew Churgwin here. P2 in the championship, coming around the final corner now. The Englishman has been a very consistent contender here. Has had one podium this year at Interlagos. He crosses the line now, and that is an improvement to P3 for Matthew Churgwin of TSA Racing. That's a 140.5. 300ths ahead of good friend Thomas Jacobs. They've both been part of the TSA clique for a number of years now at different teams, just like they were in World GT 2 years ago. Churgwin's still at TSA Racing, and he's going to have one more lap as well, so we see whether Churgwin can further improve as Boyd Bryson has gotten up into the top 10 there. He's P8 on a 141.2. Marius Nicolay, one of the last across the line. Gardner, done now. I'm just having a look who's going to be the next across the line. Let's have a little peek, shall we? It's maybe Tero Dahlberg here. Yeah, Tero Dahlberg currently in P10. The Finn making his bow last time out at Istanbul, and a decent bow it was as well. He comes into the pits. He's not going to be improving. Maybe one to look out for here is Nico Barclay. Let's go to Nico Barclay in P12 now. The Peruvian in a real spot of bother here. He is not qualified outside of the top 10 all year. He needs to find 0.3 from this lap to be able to squeeze into that top 10 and depose Tero Dahlberg. The Peruvian comes across the line now, and where does it put him? And it does put him inside the top 10, but only just a 141.298. He's going to be very disappointed with that, I feel, as Lewis McGlade now coming across the line in P10. No improvement for Lewis McGlade. He's going to be qualifying in P10 there, as now we look to Thomas Jacobs here. P4, the first of our top 4 to cross the line. Can the downforce driver improve from P4? No, he can't. What about Churgwin? Churgwin's done as well, sorry. Let's look now to Jordan Weeks. It's Weeks versus Kappa Majan for pole position here. Weeks comes across the line. Can he hit a 39? No, he can't. What about Kappa Majan, though? He'll be the first person and the only person to hit a 39 if he can. He crosses the line now. And he doesn't do it. So Jordan Weeks then takes pole position for Toro Motorsport. He locks up his brakes going into turn 1 there. But a fabulous, fabulous effort from Jordan Weeks to take pole position. He's become our first Englishman and indeed non-Peruvian to take a pole position in World GT 2015. So a fabulous effort there by Jordan. Behind him, Kappa Majan still there in P2. Still very much a real threat with Churgwin and Jacobs, ever the consistent drivers, P3 and P4. P5 is Pedro Gomez, and a great effort from Rhys Gardner to put it up there in P6. I believe that's the first time he's out-qualified his teammate, Lewis McGlade. Excuse me. So, a wonderful effort from the Australian there. Marius Nicolai, who'd been showing decent pace around the circuit Algarve, hasn't really translated that. P7 for the walk racing driver, with Boyd Bryson P8, Nico Barclay a disappointing P9 for sure. And then Lewis McGlade rounds out our top 10. In terms of penalties coming into this event, we do have two people who are going to be serving them. Burak Soylu, who caused the massive start-straight incident last time out in Istanbul, led to the retirement of a good 3 drivers, if not more. He's got to serve a 20-slot grid penalty, and he hasn't actually set a lap. So I'm not sure what the ruling on that is. I think he has to start from pit lane, therefore maybe the safest option in all honesty, considering last time. And Mark Fuller has to serve a 10-place grid penalty for contact as well in that race. That means that he will start at the back of the grid, but he will not be behind Burak Soylu. Everyone congratulating Jordan and David Junt. Jordan about now pick your place to retire. Of course, Jordan Weeks a very fast driver, but has just not had the luck this year at all. It doesn't matter whether it's another car, whether it's a mistake from Jordan's part, or whether it's a stray squirrel running across the track. Jordan Weeks always seems to retire. Maybe from the front of the field, something different can happen. We certainly wish him the best of luck. So, 9.5 minutes of warm-up to go. Let's take you down the championship standings as they are. So, in the driver standings, we have Luis Felipe Capamajan. He is our championship leader. Not been off the podium this year so far. A first, and a second. Hardly putting a foot wrong. 70 points for him. Matthew Churgwin is second. Only won the podium this year on 42 points. Thomas Jacobs is behind him, but on highest finish only. He's also on 42. His highest finish is a third. But look at this consistency. 4.43 for Jacobs. He's always there or thereabouts in qualifying P4 once again. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be getting sick of that number by the end of today. Nico Barclay has had a bit more of turmoil in his campaign. He's had a third and he's won a race in Istanbul. But an unfortunate disconnection at Interlagos meant that he didn't score points there. He is fourth on 41 points. Then Lewis McGlade is fifth on 35. Matt Richards, who isn't here today, is sixth on 30. Boyd Bryson is seventh on 22 with Cameron Brewster, also not here today on 19. Marius Nicolai is P9 on 17 points. And David Junt is P10 with 14 points. So really you can see, with a third worth 16 points, if you're able to step onto the podium, even in a one-off drive, you'll find yourself very high up the table, to be fair. In terms of the team standings, it's looking like a one-way affair at the moment, unfortunately. Scuderia Basilia with such strong finishes there. Only finish off the podium was Nico Barclay, and that was because of a disconnection, of course. 111 points there on, a good 50 points ahead of Downforce iZone Racing on 64. Aurora Motorsports are in close pursuit, though. 48 points, as are TSA Racing on 46. Smile Power, with no driver here today, are on 30 points, with Fox Racing on 27, Torrent Motorsports on 22, Walk Racing on 17, very disappointing actually for Walk, who usually aim a lot higher than that. ST then 9th on 14, as are Racing Aces PB, of course, on 14, though ST have a 6th position to their name, Racing Aces only have a 7th. So, it's sort of the curse of this sort of championship where you don't have that many points, or you don't have that many races to score points. It is only one race per evening, and there are only 7 of them. It's a difficult championship. The points really do mean loads more at every event you go to, and the more of an advantage you can build up, the better off you're going to be. It was very much the case of Alex Cooper 2 years ago in 2013. The Midnight Motorsport driver won 3 races in what was a 9-round calendar, and he pretty much dominated. He was so dominating, in fact, that he won the championship with 1 round to go, and then didn't bother to turn up for the last one. Such was the dominance of Midnight Motorsports. I remember won the team's championship in the round before the penultimate round. So it's easy to run away with the World GT Series if you can get that sort of momentum going, and Scuderia Basilia certainly have got that good momentum going. It's good to see them finding success again. You harken back to the days of 2013 in the Super Cup with Giuseppe Ranieri and just how well they did there. And unfortunately, 2014 was a bit of a harrowing year for them. Only the Super Cup they were contending in, of course, but ending up getting relegated to Formula Challenge for 2015. It's good to see them getting back on their feet in tin tops. Maybe time to refocus efforts, I'm not sure. Who knows? Anyway, if you want to get in contact with me, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of moments where I'm going to be stuck for something to say or looking for inspiration wherever you are. Whether you want to send me pictures, whether you want to send me thoughts, whether you want to send me questions about my personal life or anything like that, you are more than welcome to. Feel free to head on to Twitter and mention my handle at KirkyLife. That's at KirkyLife or hashtag GPVWC Live. And I shall get to your various queries, questions, and trials and tribulations throughout the evening. Alternatively, you can also message me on Facebook if you fancy. If you're on TeamSpeak, of course, our GPVWC TeamSpeak, you can give me a small ping in here as well, and we'll make this an inclusive broadcast as we send off World GT for the summer, because you really should get out, I think. You know, as it's difficult for us sim racers when we have so many wonderful things to do on track. We finally get a chance to breathe and relax and taste fresh air once again. So, big news, well, in terms of broadcasting, just hit us today. And you should be seeing some news further on it, perhaps in the next coming months. So, SimRace TV, which we are currently on, of course, and who have been very kind to let us stream on their services for the past few years. Unfortunately, their services are going to be shutting down, or rather, the service of SimRace TV will still be up, but the hardware which we are using to stream this to you will no longer be available. So, over the next few months, we are going to be, or rather, I should say, the League Administration is going to be looking at what ways we can bring the content to you. We do have the option, of course, of going and remaining on SimRace TV. Of course, there is also Twitch to look at. There is also YouTube to look at. And I think I would speak on behalf of everyone here to say that if you have any experience with YouTube or Twitch streaming, you know, if you can see anything or if you can say anything of, you know, a meaningful quantity in comparison to SimRace TV, maybe what would you like to see us on? What's most convenient to you? Do you like the idea of a chat box where you can communicate with your fellow viewers? Let us know. Head on over to gpvwc.com. I'm probably going to create a little league discussion in the next couple of days to maybe get the community's views on where we should go. And come along and join in, because it's exciting times for the league, especially as we look forward to expanding the R Factor 2 program into next year. And we'd love to hear your views, because, of course, streaming is incredibly important. There are a lot of drivers, of course, who will be watching this race back over their lunch or something, or even on the evening of which this was broadcast. There's, of course, you guys out there watching it live now, enjoying the scenes with me as they happen. And we want the best viewing experience for you. So join up to the league if you're not already. Let us know your thoughts, as they are very important to not only yourself, but to us lot as well. So let's think championship connotations here. Jordan Weeks is a bit of a wild card in this situation. He's not scored points this year, but he's got that pole position, and he can score good points for Torrent Motorsports, who are currently languishing a bit. Now, a decent start to the year with Cameron Brewster doing some very good point scores, but a faulty brake pedal has meant that there is only one Torrent out there, Weeks the lone scorer if he does make it to the end. 25 points would be very nice, but thinking more in terms of the championship lead, what a great situation we have here. First in the championship will start second. Second in the championship will start third. Third in the championship will start fourth. And fourth in the championship will start ninth. Things don't look too good for Nico Barclay. Things look very juicy between the top three. But of course, one thing that we always have to remember with World GT is that strategy is key. Usually a no-stop works. Other times, you'll see the one-stop become very competitive, as was the case last time out in Istanbul. Thomas Jacobs making a one-stop work very well for him, almost securing second had it been 1 or 2 more laps. Of course, it's an hour's racing here today. I've got my timer at the ready, so I don't go all crazy about someone winning when they haven't. But especially with the Autodromo Algarve, tyre wear is very heavy around here, and it's going to be interesting to see what sort of tyre choices people have chosen. Of course, there's no tyre requirements here in World GT, but we do have different types of tyres. We have the sprint tyre, which is faster but goes shorter distance. That's why it's a sprint tyre. And we have proper endurance tyres, last longer, slower. Very much like our career ladder, where we have the different choices of option and prime compound tyres. So, warm-up is done and dusted now. Jordan Weeks topping that session as well. But as to who my prediction of the winner is, it's difficult to say. Captain Majan was fast in free practice, or in unofficial free practice, sorry. Jordan Weeks, however, has shown very good pace otherwise. So, on that basis, I'm going to go for a cheeky Jordan Weeks win. If not, then surely it must be Capamajan, because the Peruvian is in a fine vein form recently. He's got to navigate the start, of course. Make sure nothing bad happens. But it does look very good for him and this championship. 25 points on offer here today for a win. And we're going to be getting to that point sooner or later in the next 3 rounds or so, where mathematically people will begin to be ruled out. Only 75 more points on offer once we end this round here at Portugal. That means that if you're new to the championship, you simply won't be able to win. And that's if Capamajan simply scores 5 points. That's an 11th place here in the GPVWC points rules and regulations. So now is very much crunch time for these drivers. And I believe we're just waiting for a couple of people to finish before we head to into the next session. Our race director Chris just taking everybody through their final procedures, reminding everyone to be very careful of starts, of course. Turn 1 here at Portugal, the R Factor 2 build is very tight. It is much tighter than you want to think, and much tighter than the R Factor build as well. But the R Factor man says his famous words, and we are about to get off and away on our formation lap here, where we will be ready after a standing start for 1 hour's worth of, hopefully, high-octane racing. And oh, goodness me, I thought Jordan Weeks hadn't made it to the grid there. Goodness me. Anyway, it is Jordan Weeks then. Torrent Motorsports, who leads us off on pole position. He's the first non-Peruvian pole sitter of the year. Can he convert it into anything meaningful? Behind him, championship leader Luis Felipe Capamajan there once again in P2. Behind him are his 2 closest championship rivals, Matthew Cherguin, P2 in the championship, P3 on the grid here. Thomas Jacobs, P3 in the championship, and on the same points as Cherguin, he is P4 on the grid. Behind Pedro Gomez, a little bit out of position in the championship. We'll be looking to make up some more points for ST Racing here in P5, and Pedro Gomez at his home track as well, the Portuguese driver, so we wish him all the best of luck. And Rhys Gardner, with his best qualifying of the year, will start P6 for Aurora Motorsports. Marius Nicolay, a little bit disappointed there in P7, I reckon, the Warp Racing driver. Behind him, Boyd Bryson, P8 for Downforce iZone Racing. Nico Barclay, 4th in the championship. I'm going to be a little bit disappointed there down in P9, as may Lewis McGlade. They're in P10, but McGlade's usually the master of the no-stop strategy. I have a feeling that may be what he's going for once again. Terry Dahlberg will start P11 for Fox Racing, with Philip Morby, P12 for TSA Racing. Brett Metcalf in a pretty good position there for Emeroli Racing Team, P13 for the South African outfit, with Roy Schroten, P14 for Fox Racing. James Grech will start P15 for Adonis Engineering, with Diego Carlantha, P16 for Hawkeye. We then have Luke Walsh, P17, for Simtech Jota Sport, with David Junt not coming out of the pit. So pit lane start for David Junt for PB, for Racing Aces PB. So therefore, P18 will be Sherwin van der Sloot, also for Simtech Jota Sport, with Paul Joseph, P20 for the Mighty Fourth. Rick Scott will be P21 for Hawkeye Racing, with Ken Hunter, P22 for Amaroli Motorsports. And then the grid is rounded out by Mark after a 10-place grid penalty, P23 for ST. And Burak Soylu not qualifying, serving a 20-place grid penalty after the start accident at Istanbul. He will start 24th and indeed last for Walk Racing. So just a reminder, we have a standing start here in World GT. It's not like the Atlantic Series where we have a single line rolling start. We did used to have rolling starts in World GT, of course, back in 2013, but they were ruled out as there was a lot of accidents. And the field being backed up massively here. Who is it backing them up? I think it's Morby, but they're very slow there in the midfield. Soylu almost coming to a standstill. But anyway, they're all going, will be all on the grid. Track temperature currently 29 degrees, as is the ambient temperature. Also 29 degrees, so not as hot as it was earlier in the year when the career ladder went here, along with World Sports Series. But hot enough. Hot enough. Jordan Weeks backing them up a lot. It's a long run up to the starting line here. The starting line doesn't match up to the actual start-finish line. Or rather, the start line doesn't come up to the finish line. There we are. That's what I'm looking for. But yeah, a lot of backing up here from Weeks in the pack. But everyone slotting into position now. David Junt has come out to the pit lane there, so he will be starting from there. Perhaps a good call as Burak Soylu comes into his starting grid slot now behind everyone. We look to the lights now. Will Weeks get off the line well? Will Kapamajan take the lead? Questions to be answered soon as we have 3, 4, 5 lights in here at Algarve. We're racing. And it's a good start from Weeks. But it's a great start from Kapamajan. Great start off the line. And he's straight into the lead. Oh, contact between the two in the straight. Kapamajan, I think, was thinking, oh, I can cut him off better. And into turn one we go now. Chogan goes very, very wide. And that's going to let Jacobs through. A P3, but Kapamajan straight on the lead. Weeks already having a look, though, into turn 3 there. Everyone sliding through nicely. I see Marius Nicolay with a great start up to P6. Barclay as well, up to P7. So Reece Gardner has lost out there as there's someone running as a bit of contact here and there. But no, everyone getting away nicely. Oh my goodness, here goes Thomas Jacobs up the inside of Weeks. Weeks gives the Englishman plenty of room. And he's let Cherwin through as well. Cherwin a bit squirrely on exit though. This is perfect for Kapamajan. Oh, contact at the back there. That's Boyd Bryson round, I think. That's Boyd Bryson round. As Jordan Weeks defending to save his life. Oh, Thomas Jacobs. Thomas Jacobs at the inside here as Samsung. Goodness me. This is not the start that Jacobs nor Weeks would have wanted as Kapamajan flies off into the distance, heading up into Portimao now. This tricky right-hander. Weeks seems to have lost Jacobs a little bit here through this right section. I see Gomez defending off Barclay and Nicolay, who are going into battle as well. I'm hearing lots of contact here and I don't think anyone is in too much worry. But yeah, Boyd Bryson, the biggest loser there, all the way down to P23 is the South African. A real shame. But we're coming around the penultimate corner now, and soon to head into the final corner of Galp. It was a very, very good start for the Peruvian championship leader. And it is Luis Felipe Kapamajan who leads us onto lap 2. From Weeks, Jacobs, Cherwin, Gomez, Nicolay, Barclay, Gardner, McGlade, and Dahlberg up into P10 as Weeks right on the back of Kapamajan. Oh my goodness me, very late dive from Jordan Weeks, and he's through! What an incredible move from Jordan Weeks, just so much better on the brakes, and there's Jacobs as well! Jacobs straight through on Kapamajan saying thank you very much. The Peruvian almost scared off the road from Weeks there, my goodness me. And that was incredible, the speed that Weeks had through there. Jacobs following through as well, but to be very fair, Kapamajan has usually non-stop these races, so I do wonder whether he's just having to go to a certain delta lap time in order to make the one stop. And we know that the likes of Weeks and Jacobs, we haven't seen them do a no stop yet, in the past couple of rounds at least, I think, anyway. Yeah, look at that now, Kapamajan really falling off the back here. We're probably going to see the pit stops for the one stoppers around the 30-minute mark, if not a little bit later. But yeah, the job for Kapamajan now is to try and maintain position, but at the same time not lose any speed. And Churgwin's going to be wanting to get past as well, behind Gomez, Nicolay and Barclay in close pursuit. And then it's Gardner, McGlade and Dahlberg rounding out the top 10. We've already had our first retirement of the day in the form of Ken Hunter for Amaroli Racing Team, and Rick Scott has just joined him in close pursuit as well. So 2 out already at the start, and we're not even on to lap 3, as further down it's battling going on between P13 and P14 is Terence Grech versus Roy Schroten. And Schroten going up the inside there of Galp. He gets the move done nicely, though. Surely Terence Grech is going to be having a little look as well with the slipstream. Indeed he does. He's going to look to the inside of turn 1. And he's straight through into turn 1 as well. Does he go wide? Yes, he does. And that is going to allow Luke Walsh through as well. So Grech down to 15th, Walsh up to 14th, and Schroten up to 13th. Good battling going down there at the back, as Kapamajan seems to have gotten the bottle cork on Churgwin for now. I see Barclay looking to move up the order as well there in P7, in very close pursuit of the Walk Racing car of Marius Nicolay. Gardner's pace not exactly looking lightning either. McGlade and Dahlberg in close pursuit. And then I think the closest battle really on track with any sort of prospect of overtakes happening is this battle for P13. Roy Schroten holding off Luke Walsh. Terence Grech back on his bike as well. Heading up through Samsung here, and Luke Walsh with a mighty exit there. The Simtech Jota driver. A little bit ill, I've heard, in recent days. That is why he did not take part in the Atlantic. He was up the upside of the inside, of Craig Jones. A very interesting idea for a move there, and into Portimao we go now. Terence Grech just following in behind. Just trying to find a little bit of space where he is, and look at this Walsh all over the back of Schroten currently. As we head up into turn 12 here, Walsh will surely want to have a little look at the cutback. Can't get anything done. And into Sagre now. Roy Schroten still holding on for a good measure. Watch out for Terence Grech in the background as well. The Ferrari behind another Ferrari, so there should be equal cars. It's just a setup which is going to make the difference. Heading on to the start-finish straight. Gordon Weeks leads then by 1.2 seconds. Thomas Jacobs following him, trying to stay within his slipstream. Kapamajan now 3.4 seconds off the lead, as there is contact down there. And Lewis McGlade has just had a bit of contact there, and is he out? What happened there to Lewis McGlade? He was in battle with Reece Gardner. And was it? He went over the curbs. It was contact between teammates. Unbelievable. McGlade and Reece Gardner got caught up with each other. Dahlberg's gone through to P8. Gardner's still there in 9. And McGlade 5th in the championship with his first retirement of the year. A real shame for the Englishman. It becomes our 3rd retirement already. So Algarve already claiming victims. And Dahlberg, the biggest winner there, up to P8 for Fox Racing. Diego Caranta now as well, up to P10, Diego. So a great start from the Peruvian here into P10. Morby close behind in P11. And look here, it's Schroten P12. Luke Walsh going through on Roy Schroten into Portimao. Grech will want a bit of that action as well. But a nice move from Luke Walsh into the right-hander there. Very close racing for the battle for P12 here now. And here goes Terence Grech on the inside. Roy Schroten spins. And Grech collects. And Grech thankfully gets going again. Roy Schroten also gets going, but that is going to give Luke Walsh a huge, huge sigh of relief now, as those two still start battling. Brett Metcalf in 15th. He's going to want more of this action as well, though. As is showing Van der Sloot, they can both see both more points and the point in their sights as Grech eases past Roy Schroten on the exit of Galp. I think that Fox Racing car is very damaged because Roy spun round and Grech hit him pretty much door on. Roy's got the slipstream. Heading into turn 1 now. Yeah, I really do not think there is much he can do there. Grech securely has P13. I think Roy's going to have a big task in his hand to keep Roy, P14 as Sherman van der Sloot there spins in P16 and is going to lose a position to David Junt, who moves up to P16, starting from pit lane, remember, David. So great to see him up into 16th there, and the recovering Boyd Bryson as well also takes a position there. So into P17 is the downforce driver. Back up at the front, Jordan Weeks has extended his lead to 2.2 seconds. Jacobs then another 3.1 seconds though, ahead of Kappa Majan, who's been able to hold on to this P3 for the 5 laps, or for the 4 laps we have been running now. Going really not to make much inroads. Neither is Gomez, Nicolay, or Barclay, and Barclay seems to have fallen off the back of Nicolay, to be honest, so I don't think that the Peruvian's going to be making too many moves just now. If anything, Tero Dahlberg from P11 here is really starting to get a move on, really catching up to these guys from P3 down rather rapidly. So maybe the Finnish driver looking to aim for a P5, perhaps. We shall wait and see. Rhys Gardner there, P9. And there's Diego Carranza in P10. Under heavy pressure from Philip Morby, though. Morby goes up the inside of Galp. And that's a nice move from the Englishman. Space left by the Peruvian. And he gets... Whoa, he went right out wide there on the exit of Galp. The Hawkeye driver will have the slipstream, though. Philip Morby temporarily up into P10. Will Carranza want to look through into turn 1, though, here at Primera? No, he will not. So, Morby elevates himself into the top 10. Carranza down to P11, the lone Hawkeye left in this race. I think any points will be good points for the team that is currently last in the team's championship. Behind, though, look at Luke Walsh here under the increasing pressure from Terence Grech now, the Maltese driver, who of course got into that contact with Roy Schroten, who's still there in P14. He doesn't look to have been damaged too much, actually, as is evident by catching up to Luke Walsh. At least as Diego Carranza, up ahead, is back through on Philip Morby. That was a nice move through into the hairpin of Torre VIP, or Torre VIP, whichever one you want to go by. So Carranza back up into P10. And Luke Walsh holding on to P12 as well, with Terence Grech in close pursuit. Nice battles here for the lower ends of the points. I think, looking up, I think we shall keep with the battle with Carranza for now, as Carranza goes wide there on the exit of Portimao. Behind, Terence Grech has got past Luke Walsh, and Walsh is off the track there, so I wonder whether there was contact. No, Walsh got caught on the Astro, and that meant that he goes wide. And that meant that he's also lost a position to Terence Grech. So Grech up into P12 and Walsh down into P13. I think Terence will take that with both hands. Thank you very much. And Adonis, only one car in this race. I'm sure they'll be wanting to score as many points as possible. I think a top 10 really be an excellent result for Grech, especially considering his starting position. What's fascinating me currently is this P3 battle, though. You have Kappa Majan, who I'm pretty sure is just laying off here, just, letting things roll along. Sorry, there is further. Oh, Grech's round, sorry. What happened here with Grech? He's fallen down to P15. And, he just lost it out of turn 1 there. And dearie me, after all that hard work, Grech down to 15, so Morby up to 11th. And still on the back of Carranza, remember. So, actually, no, so Morby was there, sorry. So Walsh is 12th, Schroten back up to 13th, Brett Metcalf up to P14, and Grech down to 15th. He's got to be careful because David Junt and Boyd Bryson, who are working their way through the field now, are on the back of him as well. I'm pretty sure those two will be at least aiming for points by the end of this race. So Morby's pressure on Carranza is definitely eased off a little bit. But yeah, going back to this point for E3. I'm interested to know how much Kappa Majan is holding back. Because if he is holding back, then that is not only worrying for the guys up front, but it is even more worrying for the guys behind, the likes of Cherwin, Gomez, Nicolay and Barclay, and indeed Dahlberg. Who are clearly trying to do their almightiest, but just don't seem to have any sort of impact on the Peruvian. I'm looking at Gomez now, actually, in P5, and Nicolay is there or thereabouts. He's edging closer every lap, but he's just not able to make a move. I think the German is pretty eager, though. He's not exactly the best of campaigns, Nicolay. Taken out by his teammate in Istanbul in that start crash. A disconnection from a podium in race 2. His only point score was the first race of the season, I believe. But looking good here now, looking for good points. As we head into Torrevieja once again. Those guys trying to get close to Churgwin as well. Dahlberg in close pursuit as well. Nikolay, scored a 6th in Turkey, but he was involved in that start accident, I know for sure. It was a good recovery, so Nikolay looking for another 6, hopefully, if not more. Barclay starting to fall off the back of these guys, though. P7, Dahlberg P8. Things seem to have settled down here at the Circuit Algarve. I noticed actually in the battle for P16, Boyd Bryson has disposed of David Junt. Next man up the road for the South African will be Terence Greco. We know that Boyd has top 10 pace, so I don't think that that should be too much of a hassle as we hit the 15-minute mark in a couple of minutes' time. That said, he's got Samsung horribly wrong, and David Junt's going to have a little look, surely, through Craig Jones. I don't think he's going to be trying too hard, David. He's going to just hold it out. He knows Boyd is probably a little bit faster. Mind you, almost... Oh, dear. Yeah, that was contact on the exit of Portimao. Jan just letting off to say sorry, and that's going to hinder Boyd a little bit. But interesting to see that David is then at least holding on to the back of Boyd Bryson. And if he can keep within the slipstream of Boyd, then once Boyd catches up to the back of the point scorers, then David, the Swiss driver, may be looking for some points as well. We certainly would love to see as many different point scorers here as possible. I think we'll go back... Oh! Nikolai's past Gomez. Sorry, completely missed that. Marius Nikolai is past Pedro Gomez, and it was into... Oh, nice. That was a nice late move into Lagos there for Nikolai. And he is now up into P5. And Gomez under a real lot of pressure here now. Barclay hassling the back of his fellow Corvette driver. And Nicolay's starting to go off into distance. So I wonder whether Pedro's used up his tyres a little bit here. Because Nikolay came through. It's a very late move. Very good on the brakes was Marius. And Pedro seemingly had no answer whatsoever. As Barclay there looking to fall in behind. His pace has not been exciting, Barclay, I'll say that much. A little bit disappointing considering his 4th place in the championship, going round turn 12 now and into Sagre once again. I'm guessing if anywhere, Barclay will want to have a look in Sector 1 with the ample amounts of slipstreaming opportunity you have around this Autodromo Algarve circuit. Round Galp we go. It seems that Barclay hasn't exactly had the best of exits, but he's going to be sipping up the slipstream now. Thalberg there, also in close pursuit in P8. If any mistake of these guys was to occur, then he will happily pick up the pieces, just like he did with Gardner and McGlade. Pedro taking turn 1 okay, though. Barclay not really able to respond. I think perhaps Gomez was just on the back foot from Nikolay overtaking him, perhaps. Just a suggestion. The gap up at the front then. Jordan Weeks leads by 4.3 seconds from Thomas Jacobs. Thomas Jacobs actually just cut that down there to 3.9 seconds. So remaining at a constant. And I wonder actually if Jacobs is catching now. I'm not so sure. We'll keep a little eye on that gap. Anyway, Luis Felipe Capamajan now 9.7 seconds off the lead. Churgwin's still there, 10 seconds off. And I think Nicolay's really started to put the pedal down here because he's catching on to Churgwin at quite a rate of knots now. Gomez behind, still in the grasp. And Nico Barclay's going to look up the inside of Portimao. His nose is in there. And Gomez just about able to hold on, almost contact between the two on exit. And the Peruvian looking for a move now, shortly into turn 12. He's going to have a little look up the inside. Not able to do anything. Behind, Dahlberg goes wide. And also behind, look at this, the battle for P10's really started to come alive. Morby up into P10, Carantha P11, and there's Luke Walsh in P12 looking for more points as well. So after a quiet spell, we have action. Once again, Morby holding on from Carantha, holding on from Walsh, who has a little nose up the inside. It's Aston Martin versus BMW versus Ferrari. Love to see the different makes here in World GT. And we're going to be heading then onto lap 11 of what is to be a predicted 35 or 36, we think. Does Carantha have an answer to Morby? Does Walsh have a question to be asking of Carantha? I don't think that's going to be the scenario here. Carantha definitely looking more on the attack than he is on the defence. Heading into turn one once again with these two. Been a lovely race-long battle so far. Carantha trying to suck into Morby's slipstream once again. Around Lagos we go. Carantha just being patient, wanting to stay in that slipstream as much as possible as we head down to Toro Vip, a popular overtaking zone in all the series that have been to the Algarve circuit. Carantha not able to do anything there though as they head out, so we shall keep a beady eye on this battle as we look up to the front. Sorry, as Nicolay goes through on Churgwin for P4 and P5 there, and that was into Portimao. Nicolay was catching, went around the outside of Trey Jones and up the inside of Portimao, and the German is now into P3. That Ferrari really starting to show its muscle, and what the leaders really would like, I think, is for Capamajan to be in a battle of some form so that he is slowed down. And I think Churgwin wasn't able to prove any sort of challenge to Capamajan. Maybe Nicolay, now with a sense of urgency about his driving, could be the man to promote that slowing down of the Peruvian ahead. Behind this battle then, Pedro Gomez holding on to P6, but Nico Barclay, he's had a couple of looks, but his lack of pace in this battle has now allowed Tero Dahlberg to fully get involved, the Finnish driver in the BMW. Latching onto the back now, the Peruvian is... sorry, I thought that was a bit of movement. No, it wasn't. My apologies. Yeah, great three-way battles going on throughout the field then, as we go through the Toro Vip hairpin once again with Gomez, Barclay and Dahlberg. This is the battle for 6th, 7th and 8th. Good points on offer here, of course, for all three teams. I think more so ST and Fox than it is for Basilia at this current stage. As all, Dahlberg really locking up under braking there into Samsung. With a good exit though. And I think Gomez has done very well so far to hold off the pressure from Barclay. Dahlberg really starting to provide a bit of a nuisance on the rear of the Corvette's rear wing. But it's separated out once again, and I think it's one of the tricks to this Algarve circuit. You've got to take your chances when they come, because even the smallest of the mistakes, and you'll find yourself a little bit out of the groove. It is definitely one of those tracks where you've got to hit all the apexes. You've got to nail your lines every time to find the time. And we've seen from this battle spreading out and then coming together again, you know, to just what effect this track can do to you. That's heading on to the start-finish straight once again with these guys. Lap 13. 20 minutes gone of this hour-long race. No one going to be making a move into turn one, I don't think. So it is going to be status quo through there. The gap between Capamajan and Nicolay is at a solid 1.6 seconds. So Nicolay is catching, but it looks like Capamajan has decided to respond to the pace by upping his own just a little tad. Morby has now escaped the clutches of Carantha in P11. And if anything, Luke Walsh is... Oh, yeah, there's been something happening here. Roy Schroten down to P16. And I think this happened a while ago. So Roy Schroten out the points then. Luke Walsh in P12. Terence Grech back up into P13. He's going to have to try and re-overtake Walsh once again. Brett Metcalf P14. But for how long as well? Because Boyd Bryson now back in the points. Or back in the points, as the case may be. Looking for more. He has Metcalf in his sights. He knows that Grech and Walsh are only just up the road as well. Perhaps a top 10 recovery isn't so far-fetched for the South African driver. We'll see how his story plays out as well with 22 minutes gone. The gap between Capamajan and Nicolay for 3rd and 4th now down to 1.1 seconds. Nicolay is definitely catching for sure. We'll have a look at the timing split as they come round the start-finish straight now, or the final turn then onto the start-finish straight now, I should say. Nicolay heads onto lap 14. And it is now down, oh my goodness me, yeah, to quick maths, 0.8 of a second. So Nicolay showing some good pace here, and Capamajan has to really ask himself, will a fight be worth it at this stage? He's tried to respond, but he hasn't been able to respond enough, and Nicolay looking very fast at this stage of the 1 hour race for sure. He's catching, going down into Torabit. 0.8 remains the gap. Let's around this sector 2, where Nicolay finds the time, and look at that now, 0.5 the gap between the two as we've crossed the second sector split. Will Nicolay be looking at a move in the next lap or so? At this current rate, it would seem likely. Capamajan now 13.9 seconds off the pace. It's about 30 seconds to a minute for a pit stop, remember, so no real worry for Capamajan here. If he doesn't get held up too much by Nicolay. We don't even know whether Capamajan is going to be pitting or not. This could be legitimate pace. Just don't know, unfortunately. But Nicolay, he's looking strong, isn't he? Going through Sagre there, turn 13. And I'd imagine he'd be wanting to have a little look of a little peek on the start-finish straight as we head round Galp for the 14th time of asking with these two. On to lap 15 then. Nicolay hooked up into the slipstream. Capamajan ahead with a decent start, with a top speed himself. There we go, got the words out eventually. But no move there for Nicolay. And it seems to be definitely traction through corners and traction out of corners is where Capamajan is struggling. Nicolay made a dynamic move through on Churguin for P4 at turn 3 there. Not able to do anything here. Perhaps a move into the hairpin is where the German's going to be looking. Capamajan getting a little bit locked onto the curbing there, the outside curbing of turn 4. Nicolay into the slipstream. He's going to dive to the inside here. And through on Toro VP goes. And Nicolay is through onto the podium. A nice, solid move from the German. I don't think Capamajan defended that too hard at all. And Nicolay has been set loose. Behind Churguin there in P5. Monitoring the battle, which is very slowly, but very surely starting to catch up to him. Gomez, Barclay, Dahlberg, all still within a second of each other. And starting to drag Churguin back into them as well. We're actually nearing the halfway mark of this race now, so pit stops to be expected soon, actually. Be expected soon. And so maybe the likes of Churguin, of Weeks, might be looking to be struggling now. Either way, those 4 drivers all going through status quo. Oh, let's go back to the battle for P11 here, please, Joshers. Look at this. Morby has been in the top 10, and he's done well to get into the top 10, but he just can't escape the threats behind him. Carantha, P11. Grech, P12. Walsh, P13. And to a certain extent, Bryson in 14th and Metcalf in 15th. All very close to the Englishman. It's going to be anyone's guess as to how this order is going to sort itself out by the end of the race, because Morby is under a lot of pressure here. And that said, though, Carantha was under a lot of pressure, but Grech going very wide through the final corner. Walsh under the most pressure, though. Here goes Boyd Bryson now. The Aston Martin driver for Downforce Racing. Got a decent amount of his car up alongside Walsh. And surely this is moved down into turn 1. Yes, it is. Boyd Bryson back up into P13. He can see P10 up the road. This has been an excellent recovery drive from the South African so far, looking to get more points for his English outfit. Next up the road for him, though, is P12, and that's Terence Grech in the Ferrari. Keeping an eye with these, with the top 2 of this little cluster, though. Morby defends off Carantha. Grech goes in nicely into turn 5 as well. Boyd Bryson with a nice exit, as does Walsh and Metcalf in close pursuit as well. For Shorten, by the way, P16, 2 seconds off this battle as well. And all status quo once you through there once again. I shall keep an eye on the close battles, see if anything can be done. I'm just looking a little bit further up the field there, and Jacobs is in. We have our first pitter of the day, 27 minutes into this race, and Jacobs has called it. Into the pits then, he is on lap 16. It's now lap 17, to be fair. He's on lap 17, so down to P8 he goes. So Nicolay through into second. Capamajan back up into third. Everyone else going round. I don't see anyone else coming in just yet. I think Jacobs is going to get out ahead of this P10 battle, actually, which is going to be pretty crucial. Here they come around the final corner now. Morby, Carantha, and what happened to Greg? So Boyd Bryson is past Greg as well, and Greg is into the pits. But big news for Jacobs. He is out in front of Philip Morby there in P10. Carantha looking on the inside. No, he's not going to do anything. But Boyd Bryson up to 12th then. Greg in. From P13 down to P16 now already. Walsh 30th, Metcalf 14th. Roy Schroten temporarily back into the point in P15. But Jacobs, he was 9.7 seconds off the lead. Going to find out just how far off the lead he is now once he passes the second sector split. He is 44 seconds. So, yeah, it's about a 30 to 35 second pit stop for Jacobs. So, really, not too bad at all. But what that does mean is that if Capamajan is going to the end, then I'll say this much. Capamajan currently, as weeks goes round again, and there's showing around the suit, sorry, going around. So let's have a look here at Nicolay just coming around the final corner. Well, he pits. No, he's going to keep going as well. Capamajan, though, let's see, how far off is he? He's 19.2 seconds off the lead. Now, I don't know about you, but 19 plus 19 is 38. I think we have a real battle on our hands for the win here, ladies and gentlemen. Especially now that Jacobs has got better tyres as well. I reckon we are in for a very good and very interesting next 10 minutes or so, ladies and gentlemen, with the pit stop phases still to play out, of course. Weeks, Nicolay expected to pit. As, just looking at this battle back here, no one else pitting just yet. So Jacobs and Grech very much calling it early. Jacobs, by the way, 10 seconds behind Gardner, so we've got plenty of clean air to start setting some good lap times in. Has played this very well. I remember Jacobs was a threat for second place last night in Istanbul. Didn't get it, though. I reckon he might be in with a chance of the win here, to be honest. If not just then second place. Capamajan, I don't think he's going fast enough. He's been managing the pace very well, but his battles with Chergwin, with Nicolay, and with Weeks and Jacobs before, of course, could go against him as Weeks, our race leader, comes into the pits then. On lap 19 here of an expected 35. 20 seconds was the gap between himself and Capamajan. Nicolay goes round again, though. As does Capamajan, that's expected. Chergwin, Gomez, Barclay and Dahlberg, they all go round again as well. Going to have a look to Gardner now. Where will Weeks come out? Surely he's got to look out for Jacobs here. That's the next man down the road. Gardner comes through now as well. And will Weeks get out ahead of Gardner? No, he will not. Will he come out ahead of Jacobs even? I don't think he is. No, he's not. So Thomas Jacobs here has gone ahead of Jordan Weeks. An incredibly long stop. But the Englishman, he only just gets going now. Will he get out ahead of Morby here as Boyd Bryson comes into the pits as well? Oh, it's going to be very close. Jordan Weeks just out ahead of Morby. But Morby's got the fastest speed here through the corner. And well. I say that far too often these days, but I wonder if Weeks has just overcooked that pit stop a little bit. Because Thomas Jacobs has just pulled ahead of the Englishman. And we can't say in theory yet whether he's inherited the race lead. But he might have. He might just have. That was an almighty poor stop from Weeks. It really was. He could have just thrown a waste win then, I reckon. So anyway, we look back up to the front then. Marius Nicolay for Walk Racing. Still going round. And at a good pace as well. 2.2 seconds behind is Luis Felipe Capamajan. Churgan goes round again, as does Gomez, Barclay and Dahlberg. Making these tyres last a nice long time, so we've passed the halfway mark here. At the Portuguese GT Cup, we look next to Rhys Gardner in P7. Will the Australian pit? No, he will not. And then it's back to Jacobs and Weeks next before we have this massive battle then once again. For P10, Morby, Carantha and Walsh, all in very close pursuits. I'm sure that they'll be happy to know that Boyd Bryson has pitted now. Will any of these three pit? No, they will not. All three go round once again as well, as does Brett Metcalf, as does Roy Schroten. And then it's a long way back to Burak Soylu. So only a couple pitting before the halfway mark. A lot of people, or a handful of people pitting pretty much on the halfway mark. The majority of people, it seems, going to be pitting nearer the end of the race, going as far as possible on their first stint and then going for a little bit of a sprint. Because of course, the further you can go into the race, the less amount of pit time you will be needing to have, as of course you have less fuel going into the car. It's a poor day to get indigestion, I'll tell you that now. But anyway. Gergwin, Gomez, Barclay, Dahlberg. Oh, goodness me. Terrible. I'm going to think I'm going to have a drink, to be honest. Before it gets too bad. All in very close pursuit. Let's have a little look then. Nicolay goes round again. This is very interesting. As, oh, Grech, that is an engine. And I feel that might be Terence Grech's evening done and dusted. Yep. He pulls over to the side there. And that's a real shame for the Maltese driver who was looking at points. No longer out with an engine failure, unfortunately. Although he's still in the race. Nope, he is gone. Engine failure for Grech means that he is our fourth retirement of the day, unfortunately. A real shame there for the Maltese driver, who's looking very good for parts of that race, let me tell you now. So what this does mean then is that Burak Soylu and Roy Schroten, potentially with a chance of points here. P14, P15, remember. Just looking at Nicolay, Capamajan, Chogan. They've all gone round again, haven't they? Let's go back to P5 here in P6. Nico Barclay and Tero Dahlberg in very close battle here. Fighting for position still. And I'm also keeping an eye on Rhys Gardner here in P7. He's now got Thomas Jacobs only a couple of seconds behind. And on much fresher rubber, remember, as well. What to do? What to do? Surely Rhys will just want to take Jacobs go, unless he is planning on pitting himself. Then it is very much for position still. But let's see, Nicolay. He's coming around the final corner now. Once again, will the German pit here on lap 22? No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. And Capamajan goes around again. Sorry, Jacobs is past Rhys Gardner already, so Gardner does let Jacobs through. They're not on the same strategies, evidently. So Jacobs up to P6. Barclay and Dahlberg still in very close proximity to each other. I've also noticed that Nicolay he's pulling away from Capamajan. And I'm starting to wonder whether Nicolay can no-stop. It'd be very impressive if he can. But I wouldn't think he could at the pace he's going. Let's have a look here. Thomas Jacobs, his last lap times were 41.6, 41.5, 41.4 and a 42.2. 41.22 because, or 42.2 because he was overtaking Rhys. And what about Nicolay? 42.4, 42.3, 42.2, 41.8. So if anything, Nicolay is getting faster. I'm very intrigued by the race strategy here. I'm not quite sure how this race is going to play out, as we never seem to do here at World GT. No idea ever. I'm back in P11, sorry, here. P11, P12. Diego Carantha under a lot of pressure from Luke Walsh here. And Brett Metcalf there in P13, not too far behind either, mind you. So it's good to see these points positions still under a good bit of fighting, of course, as Carantha locks up there. Walsh going to look up the inside, and he is very much alongside. Is the Englishman now? He'll have to go around the outside of Craig Jones, though. He has to pull back in, and nice move from Luke Walsh. Up the inside of Portimao he goes. The Englishman is into P11, as up the road, Tero Dahlberg from P6 takes to the pits. He feels possibly that he's being held up by Barclay, and now is the time to come in. So Jacobs will come through to re-inherit that P6. Gardner will come through as well to come home into P7. Through comes Jordan Weeks as well. So Jordan Weeks leaps Dahlberg. So I still think a podium is on potentially for Weeks. But not much more at this rate. What about Morby? Will Dahlberg be able to launch or to jump him? No, I don't think he will. Dahlberg still in the pits. Morby comes through, as does Walsh, Carantha, and Metcalf as well. Dahlberg gets going again, but there goes Schroten, his teammate, going past him as well. So Dahlberg will rejoin this race in P14. That is not where he wanted to be, though. He does have a nice little bit of clean air, at least, to get some good laps in. And I'm sure he'll be expecting the guys up ahead of him, at least, to pit once during this race. So, Jacobs into 6 now. Crucially, he is 24.7 seconds off the lead. And in terms of Kappa-Majan, who we don't believe is pitting, as he never has, with the exception of Interlagos, I think, he's 18 seconds off him. As Nicolay comes around the final corner once again. Nicolay goes round again. Interesting. There goes Kappa-Majan as well. Interestingly, though, it looks to me that Churgwin and Gomez, who have now broken away from Barclay, are starting to catch up to Kappa-Majan. 9/10 gap between the Peruvian and the Englishman now. Of course, Gomez being dragged along with Churgwin. And I wonder if Kappa-Majan is a little bit worried here about their pace now. Or if he's worried about his own tyres, even. That would be worrying. Let's have a look here. It does look like the gap is visibly closer than it has been in recent laps. As we head down into Toro Veep here. And through the second two split. Sure, that's closer. Yes, 7/10 the gap between Chogan and Kappa-Majan. Let's stay on board here. The battle for P2 currently. Very much on. Chogan, he didn't take his chances early race. He's sort of held behind in the early stages of this race, with 20 minutes to go, starting to get a bit of a wriggle on. Into Portimao we go with these three. By the way, the gap to the front is now 6.1 seconds. Back up to 9/10 the gap, actually, though. So Kappa-Majan seems to have it pretty nailed through that second sector. Perhaps it is in this third and first sector that Churgwin finds all the time with a potentially better top-end speed. I'm not sure. I'm going back to P7, sorry, here. Oh, my goodness me. Jordan Weeks in P8 looking to get past. Oh, Gardner. And Gardner was wiggling all over the place. I don't think it was his fault necessarily, but Weeks was thrown off massively by that. And he's lost a lot of time to Gardner. Goes from bad to worse, but at least he's not out the race. Yeah, the gap between Kappa-Majan and Churgwin now remains at 9/10 a second. So Kappa-Majan, I think, starting to respond to the pace at least. We'll see whether Churgwin reels him in a bit more in this first sector. Oh, Churgwin going very wide there, actually, to be fair. Not sure if he will be gaining more. They're dropping Barclay for this, though. He's not able to respond at all. Heading into Tora Veep then with these two. With these three, I should say. What's the sector split here? Still 9/10. So I think Kappa-Majan has now started to respond to the pace here. Is behind. Diego Carantha is in from P11. So Tero Dahlberg, who's been in fresh air, now starting to catch on to the back of P12 and 11 here. Diego Carantha in from P11. Burak Soilu actually going to be going round again. So Burak Soilu into P14. And Boyd Bryson surely going to be overtaking him as well, getting back into the points. I don't notice Mark Fuller's going around without a front bumper. So in more contact has Fuller been. Going all Yoda on you there. I do apologise. Battles are a bit few and far between, as I noticed Weeks has now got back past, or he's got past Reece Gardner now. So Weeks up into 7th, Gardner down to 8th. Nicolay goes round again. As a bit of a slide out there from Capamajan on the start straight. He's lost Churgwin once again now. The gap back up to 1.4 seconds, and Gomez looking more like the aggressor now. But I want to go back now to P11 and P12 here. Tero Dahlberg has just been let past his teammate Roy Stroton. So Dahlberg up into P12, and he's going to want to look to overtake Brett Metcalf on track now, I reckon, to get back up into P11. As Capamajan's, he's off! Oh, Capamajan's off! He was looking leery on the exit of the final turn there, and he got caught on the curb, locked up, and he has gone into the gravel, and he's lost position to both Churgwin and Gomez. So a rare mistake from Felipe Capamajan there, down to P4. And where is he in relation to Jacobs now? Jacobs now only 12 seconds behind. Though I think it was in the first sector, so let's see how close it is now. Jacobs, pretty much 12 seconds behind Capamajan now. We've got 16 minutes to go. Jacobs is going to have to catch pretty much once again a second per lap if he's going to want to overhaul Capamajan. But I'm looking at Nicolay, Churgwin and Gomez here, and I'm wondering whether these guys can make it to the end, you know? Because they've shown no signs of stopping at all. And look at that, Capamajan just has no answer, does he? As Dahlberg and Metcalf go into battle further down, and that's down to Toravip. Dahlberg is up into P11 once again. So Dahlberg back to where he started, and looking to pull away now from Brett Metcalf behind, trying to catch up to Luke Walsh up ahead there in P10. If you've only just joined us with 50 minutes to go, there have been 4 retirements from this race. Ken Hunter, Rick Scott, Lewis McGlade, and Terence Grech. Heard contact from somewhere, and I can't see who it is. I think it was possibly just someone going over the curbing. But yeah, very interesting scenes here. We thought that there were going to be a lot more pitting by this station than there have been. And look at the battle for P2 now. Churgwin, who is there in P2 under all sorts of pressure from Gomez. Gomez has been a constant threat to the Englishman all race long. But what of Marius Nicolay? What of Marius Nicolay? Has he got the tyres right? Because if he has, he's pulled a master stroke. Let's look at these laps now. He's gone back up into the 42s. And he's actually losing a lot of time. 42.5, 42.4, 42.5, 42.7 last time around. As, Diego Carranza's in. And I wonder why. I feel Diego Carranza will not be scoring points here today. Back out into P19, unfortunately. So, I think Diego Carranza must have been in a bit more trouble. As Churgwin and Gomez still go around. Capamajan in close pursuit, P4. Barclay 5th. Jacobs 6th, and still reeling in the time. Is it enough, though? I'm not too sure. Weeks 7th. Gardner 8th. Morby 9th. And looking back now to Luke Walsh in 10th. Tero Dahlberg really starting to pump up the pressure here as Walsh goes wide there into Samsung. He's really starting to struggle on these tyres, isn't he? And Dahlberg right behind the Englishman now, as Diego Carranza has retired from this race. A real shame, a double retirement for Hawkeye. But let's look to Dahlberg now, looking to make his way back into the top 10. Really having to brake a little bit earlier than he wanted. Walsh defending for his life up the inside of turn 11. Into turn 12 we go. Dahlberg brakes late. And a nice move from the Finn. Back up into P10 for Tero Dahlberg. He's now 4 seconds behind Philip Morby. Maybe he has a chance of catching him. We shall have to wait and see. As Walsh goes wide once again. I'm pretty sure Walsh will be just happy with points, as will Metcalf, as will Stroton, to be fair. Soilu P14, Mark Fuller P15. I'm sure that they will both be very happy with that if they can hold on to the end. Lap 28 we are on with the leaders, and Marius Nicolay has his lights on, bizarrely. And we know that there has been a little bug in R-Factor 2 when they can turn on, and if you don't have the button to map them off, then you can't turn them off. It's as simple as that. But looking to Churgwin, Gomez and Capamajan, looks like Capamajan is starting to close back in on Gomez and Churgwin now. But ideally what Jacobs will want is for Capamajan to be held up as long as possible by these two so that he can close in. 9 seconds now, the gap between Capamajan and Jacobs. As, oh my goodness me, Churgwin, he had a front flip moment there, didn't he, as he went over the curbing. As, oh, that is Capamajan going very wide out of the final turn, not helping him at all. Nicolay leads by 9.7 seconds from Churgwin, Gomez, Capamajan. Let's have a look at how far Jacobs is now. Less than 9 seconds between Capamajan and Jacobs. 12 minutes remaining. So it is now then less than a second per lap. Let's see what their last laps were indeed. Capamajan a 42.8. Jacobs with a 41.6. Goodness me. As I'm sorry, I'm looking at... Oh, yeah, look at that. Capamajan on the inside of Gomez. Not able to do anything. He's being held up here now by Churgwin and Gomez. Very interesting scenes. Barclay behind. We've forgotten about Barclay, haven't we? Jacobs has to get through Barclay in order to get to Capamajan as Luke Walsh finally comes into the pits. Brett Metcalf then goes through to P11. Roy Schroten P12. I imagine that Burak Soyd is going to go through into P13 and potentially Mark Fuller will go through into P14. So Walsh having to pit for tyres there. Shouldn't be too long a stop though. As Gomez and Churgwin! They've taken each other out! Oh no! And that's let Felipe Capamajan through once again. Look at that incident once again. And let's have a look here. Oh, Gomez just lost it under braking and has hit Churgwin off. Thankfully, he's let Churgwin have the position, but they have both lost out to Capamajan there. Capamajan, what a lifesaver that was. And that is crucial here, I think, in terms of how this race will play out now. As Jacobs is close to less than 7 seconds, he's flying, Thomas Jacobs. But with only 10.5 minutes to go, one will ask, is he going to be able to catch Capamajan? More importantly, is Capamajan going to make another mistake? I don't think he is, not after that last one. He's now got a good about 2.5 second gap to Churgwin and Gomez, who are both undoubtedly damaged in that piece of contact. As Barclay locks up, and there is Jacobs. There is Jacobs in P6, very close to Barclay, but he's now got to overtake 3 cars to get to Capamajan, as opposed to 2. And it's just all part of this championship. People have been complaining about Capamajan running away, just like Carl Smith in 2012, just like Cooper in 2013. But the thing which makes championships easy to win is if you have your own competitors taking each other out. And that is exactly what's happened between Gomez and Churgwin here. So let's keep an eye then on Thomas Jacobs. Only 5.5 seconds away from Capamajan now. 9 minutes left of this race. He is going to have to scythe through these 3 cars to have any sort of hope of managing to overtake Capamajan. Here he is going on to the back of Nico Barclay. By the way, Marius Nicolay, I think he's pulled a masterclass here. I reckon he's going to go to the end now, even if his tyres are falling off. He's got a 12.2 second gap to Capamajan. Really played it well. Poor qualifying, great race. And here goes Jacobs now. Lights on for Nico Barclay. I wonder if that was a glitch or if he's letting Jacobs through. Either way, Jacobs really hooked onto the back of Nico Barclay, and surely this is going to be moved on. On the inside of the Peruvian, into turn 1. Job done. Jacobs up into P5. Next up the road is Pedro Gomez. 8.5 minutes left to go of this Portuguese GT Cup. Nicolay leads by 12.3 seconds from Capamajan. The real story here, though, is can Jacobs come back through to claim P2? Can he get one over championship rival Capamajan? Because whether you like it or not, Jacobs and Churgwin are the 2 closest to Kapamajan. Despite the fact that they are 28 points behind, they need to start clawing back some points now if they are to be in with any hope of catching back up. Look at that, 4.8 seconds to gap between Kapamajan and Cherwin. So Jacobs is still flying. He's got to get past 2 cars now. I wonder whether he'll have too much of a fight from Cherwin. As I say, the two are very good friends, and Cherwin will know what sort of race Jacobs is having here. I think the biggest challenge for Jacobs is firstly to get past Gomez, but then to get past Kapamajan, of course, as well. Heading around Sagre now. I don't think Jacobs is going to be close enough to Gomez to be able to make a move, but he will be able to capitalise on the slipstream, I'm sure of it. We're crossing the start-finish straight now to go on to lap 52. Kapamajan actually starting to close in on Nicolay that lap, but Thomas Jacobs, again, closing in the gap to Kapamajan. It is now 4.2 seconds. But is it enough, though? Is it enough? I am not too sure. You see, in this position, had Cherwin and Gomez kept it together, or if Gomez, I mean, it was Gomez's fault that Cherwin was hit off the track. But if the two of them had remained on track and kept Luis Felipe Kapamajan behind, what a story that could be as Jacobs dives late on Gomez. And, oh, contact on exit. That was very late from Jacobs, and I fear that his impatience might have cost him here. Gomez perfectly entitled to take his line. Jacobs has to remain behind for now and seriously locking up his tyres as well. Will he dive into Samsung? No, he will not. But Jacobs getting impatient, clearly. We head round Craig Jones now for the 32nd time of asking, and into Portimao. Jacobs up the inside of Gomez. Gomez with a nice outside line. He's doing it wonders, isn't he? And look how much time he's losing to Kapamajan. As Jacobs on the inside again, this time into turn 12. And this time he's made it stick. Jacobs past Gomez, but with 5.5 minutes to go, I don't think he's going to be able to attack Kapamajan here unless the Peruvian makes a mistake. Here we go with Cherwin now. We're crossing the line onto lap 33 here of a potential 35-36, and Jacobs goes wide. He doesn't want that. Kapamajan, 11.9 off the lead. Jacobs now a full 5 seconds behind. He's lost a second. As Gomez looking for a move. Jacobs didn't want this. And Gomez, very close. And Gomez is round. And is Barclay going to capitalise on that as well? The code's been knocked all over the place. Barclay goes through on Gomez, surely. Contact between the two. And Gomez has thrown it all out. There's Jordan Weeks as well. Jordan Weeks. What a great bit of movement there. Wonderful from the Englishman. He's back up into P5. Gomez, though. He just tried too hard. He's thrown away a very good position here. Just ahead of Nico Barclay. Contact between the two of them. Weeks through to P5. Great driving from the Englishman. Great driving from the Englishman. But to be fair, I think any chance of Kapamajan finishing any lower than P2 now is gone. Because Jacobs is now falling even further behind. 5.5 seconds now behind Kapamajan, who started to pick up the pace a little bit more now. Going round turn 11 and turn 12 is Jacobs. He's got to get past Cherwin as well. As I say, I think it's pretty much going to require a Kapamajan mistake, if anything, to see Jacobs take a P2. Or Cherwin take a P2 for that matter. Round Galp we go then, for the 33rd time of asking. And he's not close enough. He's not close enough. The gap up, it's remained around 5.4 seconds really, but he's got to make a move on Cherwin now. 3.5 minutes to go. I don't think anything's going to happen. Look at that though. Good exit out of turn 1 for Jacobs. Going to go to the outside of Cherwin, and they're just holding each other up. David Junt getting involved there as well. Yeah, I'd say it's game over. Game over. I would say game over, though. But I'm having a little cheeky look at Jordan Weeks here, actually. Jordan's been flying the last 2 laps here. And I mean, think about it this way. If he hadn't had that horrendous pit stop, he might not have been leading this race ahead of Nick, but he would have been challenging for it. He would have certainly been ahead of Capamajan for sure. But I reckon he has a chance of a podium here still, because he is absolutely flying. Look him in here now. Round Portimao, he's within a second of the 2 of them. Wow. The pace from Weeks is extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. Will you have a look on the inside of Jacobs here? He's going to have a little look into turn 12. A little bit of contact between the 2. And Jordan Weeks. Jordan Weeks is through. I don't know where I'm going with that, but let's roll with it. Jordan Weeks up into P4. A little bit of a Kamui tap there, a Kamui kiss. And now right on the back of Churgwin as well. Jordan Weeks showing us how it's done. Surely he's going to have a look on Churgwin here. Into the slipstream we go. He's closing. We've seen him have a dynamic move into turn 1 through on Capamajan. Not choosing to take that option this time. Getting a little bit held up behind Churgwin, if anything. And surely a little move into turn 3 wouldn't go afar. No, not. And Jacobs locking through. Oh, they're going 3 wide almost. And Jordan Weeks up the inside. Oh, very careful. Jacobs with some savvy driving there. Making the most of Jordan Weeks being ushered to the outside. It's almost like the 2 of them working together. Churgwin going ultra defensive now, though. Into Toro Vip once again. And contact between the 2 of them. Jordan Weeks just had to be very careful. He's in a very good position for Torrance here. And though he could have won this race, I don't really think that he will want to throw away the good points that he has earned already. Heading up then through Samsung and into Craig Jones. Weeks on the outside of Jacobs here. Walsh gets involved and not really much room for him to go there. As Weeks goes on the inside of Jacobs and round goes Weeks. That was always going to happen, wasn't it? So that's challenge over for P3 and P4 as well. As I say, it all just falls into the hands of Capamajan as Jacobs through on Churgwin. And that's the move he needed to make about 5 laps ago. Too late now, Thomas, too late. Right, we are on the final lap of this race, by the way. Time is up, my phone says. So final lap of this race then. Nicolay leads by 11 seconds from Capamajan. Churgwin in 3rd. No, sorry, Jacobs in 3rd, sorry. Churgwin 4th. Weeks coming in 5th. And behind there's a battle for P10 still. Morby holding onto it for dear life. Brett Metcalf in P11 there. Trying his damnedest to get a top 10 and very close to it as well. Not close enough though. I'm looking at other good. Burak Soylu in P13 there on to score his first points of the year. It'll be a good effort from the Turk, especially considering his poor Turkey outing. And Fuller there in points. Bryson there in points as well. Looking very good for these guys. Looking very good. As Churgwin. What's happened to Churgwin? He's very slow. Very slow. I wonder if he's run out of fuel. Oh, he's run out of fuel, I think. Incredible. Maybe that's why he was so slow. He's lost position to Weeks. He's lost position to Gomez. He looks to have sped up a bit now, but I do wonder whether fuel has been a concern from him for this entire time. He might lose out to Barclay as well. Oh, dearie, dearie me. Well, anyway, let's go back up to the leader, Josh. What a race he has had. From P7 to 1st. A very unexpected race victory, but a welcome race victory at the same time. Marius Nicolay wins for Walk Racing. A wonderful effort from the German. What great pace he had around this circuit, Algarve. Great confidence for him going into the next round. Luis Felipe Capamajan continues his run of never being outside the top 2. He is 2nd with Thomas Jacobs 3rd. Jordan Weeks 4th. A very disappointing 4th, I think, for him as well. Pedro Gomez. Oh, has Gomez run out of fuel as well? Oh, no. Everyone's running out of fuel. I think Gomez is just about going to make it. though. It's the slowest run to the line I have ever seen. Gomez just about makes it P5. Barclay, he's pipped Churgwin. Unbelievable. So Barclay 6th, Churgwin 7th, Dahlberg 8th. Reese Garner will come home, a credible 9th position. It also looks like he's suffering with fuel. So many people with fuel concerns. Incredible. And what's happened to Morby? I think Morby's run out of fuel as well. TSA worries here. So Brett Metcalf will take a P10. Oh, Willie, he's run out of fuel as well. Roy Schroten nicks P10 around the final corner. As does Philip. Wow. Roy Schroten 10th, Morby 11th, Brett Metcalf 12th. What a shame for him. Burak Soilu will come home to score his first points of the season. P13 for Walk. Mark Fuller finished P14. Boyd Bryson ended up P15. Your retirements from this race were Diego Carantha, Terence Greck, Lewis McGlade, Rick Scott, and Ken Hunter. What a set of circumstances we had there. That's got to be one of the most bizarre sim racing finishes I have seen in my career as a commentator at GPVWC. Absolutely bizarre. TSA Racing tweeting and say it was very interesting to see how these race strategies played out. Yeah, very interesting to see how some of them failed as well, TSA Racing, to be very fair. Again, hashtag GPVWC Live. If you want to get involved, it seems that everyone is convinced that it's GPVWC, the hashtag. We'll look at hashtag GPVWC to just see whether anyone else has put it. Yeah, so it's just TSA Racing for that one. But what a mad race. But ultimately, a wonderful, wonderful strategy played out from Marius Nicolai. No one would have expected him to win, and yet he did. What could have been, for Jordan Weeks, though, a terrible, terrible pit stop. Terrible pit stop. And I think that cost him, if not the win, then a second position at the very least. So then, let us drag in some podium interviewers. Ooh. User was moved to your channel. Let's first of all, hopefully start, if he's still here, with Mr. Matthew Churgwin. You seemed a little bit thirsty at the end there, mate.
Yeah, God. I had predicted 35 laps. I was fine for 35 laps. The second I crossed the line and realised there'd be a 36, that was it. Straight into 6th gear, clutch in and pray. And yeah, unfortunately, just not enough gas in the tank, and yeah, just lost all those places at the end. But that's the way it is. You know, some cars are very good on fuel, some are not. Unfortunately, Aston's a bit thirsty, but that's the way these things go.
Yeah, it was, as I was saying on broadcast, it's one of the most bizarre finishes I've seen to a sim race, with everyone just tugging across the line trying to get there. The big moment for you in that race, it was a very controlled race throughout. You know, we were I was debating with myself whether you were going to be one stopping or not. We've seen you do it in the past. You didn't do it today. But unfortunately, after capitalizing on a mistake from Capamajan, you then had contact with Pedro Gomez. Do you feel you could have held Capamajan behind you if that hadn't happened? You know, what was possible today, especially considering the fuel issues?
Well, I mean, so I was expecting 35 laps. So since we did 36, I wouldn't have been able to hold him back. But yeah, I mean, so the move, I saw him having a look on several laps. And I must admit, I just looked at my braking point, glanced at my mirror, and he was gone. So I assumed he was in my blind spot, so I left space, and I think he might have locked up or something. And yeah, I think it was Gomez. He just, you know, clattered the side of me, and that was that. And yeah, I mean, so to be honest, I wasn't expecting to beat Louis. He is absolutely nailing it in the championship. He's clearly got his car sorted out very well. So if I was able to finish above him, I certainly wasn't expecting it. It might have happened if there were 35 laps, but not on 36.
Yeah, it seems that everything is going as well. But anyway, we hope things go your way a little bit better next time out, Matt. So good job on your results anyway. Lucky to scrap home with a P7. Thank you very much for joining us. And we'll now drag in a few more people, shall we? Let's first of all start with Thomas Jacobs. So Tom, going for the one-stop strategy yet again, but it seemed like everything conspired against you. There was a chance where we were looking at it. I'm not sure whether you were aware of it, but Kapamajan made a mistake. He was in fourth. And had that remained the case, you might have had a chance to overtake him, but ultimately it wasn't to be. Nevertheless, though, a podium, surely the next best thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one-stop strategy was sort of the way to go for me. The the fuel usage wasn't optimal for me and Boyd, so we chose the one-stop strategy. It seemed to work in Turkey, and we thought, we'll try it again here. There's some corners that promote, increased tyre wear, and maybe would catch some people out. And at the start, Jordan was much faster than me. I was not expecting that, and luckily I managed to get past Chergwin and Kappa quite quickly, and just managed to pull out I think it was about half a second to a second a lap, and that's what I needed. But after my stop, I didn't quite get the pace that I needed to kind of get any higher up on the podium.
Ultimately, it was sort of half and half, wasn't it? I can appreciate the Aston was a little bit thirsty, as we've had clarified from Chuggy himself. The next round, though, we go to is a personal favourite of mine, proved a very nice addition to the calendar in 2013, Brno circuit. Are you expecting to do greater things there? Because I know that you had some pretty nice results last year in World GT, no less at Brno. Does it suit the Aston Martin a little bit better for you?
2013, I started 10th, and of course it was a wet race. I think the start was wet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I finished either 5th or 6th. So it was a great track, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to it, because it's, for me, Portimao was sort of like a bogey track. It was a track where I couldn't kind of get the rhythm of it. I couldn't get as quick as I'd want to be, and hopefully Brno is a lot better to me.
It was your highest finish of the year. It was 6th. So there we are. Hoping for good things for you next time out, Tom. So cheers for joining us.
Thanks very much.
We move to the guy who had that decent start, was all going along so nicely, and then the pit stop happened. Jordan, what went wrong?
It was Simon's fault.
All Simon's fault.
Yeah. No, because the start was a bit iffy for me. So, knowing my strategy, I had to do one stop. The Porsche just drinks fuel like nothing, more than the Aston, to be honest. I just had to go for it, literally do qualifying laps, lap after lap after lap, just to make the strategy work. As soon as Jacobs pitted, Simon told me, well, I thought Jacob was going to pit for tyres. My initial plan was not to take tyres and go to the end, which would have saved me around 20 seconds. But how Simon said it, he didn't fear it, but he thought that Thomas took tyres and going for an undercut, which I had to respond. And then afterwards, it's just, what happened afterwards. I just lost too much time.
You had a decent race back, to be fair. I think P4 was an amazing result considering. And we've got to look at the positives as well here. First non-Peruvian to take a pole position this year. You could have won the race. High hopes for Brno, therefore?
We will see.
We will see. Anyway, congratulations on your result, Jordan. Well deserved, I would say. We'll blame the pit wall on that one. And our final interviewee today is Mr. Rhys Gardner. A wonderful qualifying from you, followed up by a very Lewis McGlade-esque race. Unfortunately, though, you came a little bit closer to Lewis in the race than perhaps you two were expecting.
Yeah, we did, and me and Lewis have already sorted that out between ourselves, and no hard feelings and such like. But it was a very Lewis McGlade-esque race, primarily because my front left was in grave danger throughout the whole race. I think I finished with about 27% left on the front left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds very nasty indeed, but 7 more points to the team. Certainly worth it, and Aurora Motorsports are certainly in that sort of cluster to finish at least P2 in the championship. Are you hoping for a strong comeback in Brno? Do you think that, a lot of fuel issues here at Portimao, and I think I noticed you struggling a little bit near the end as well. Any high hopes for Brno, or is it still just, keep your heads down and do as well as you lot can?
Well, I think you know me by now, James. I don't like to make predictions about what I want to do. So
I'll still keep trying.
yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Brno, I haven't raced on that track in literally years. It'll just be another keep your heads down kind of deal, I think.
Well, we wish you the best of luck anyway. So thank you, Teresa. Thank you to all our other interviewees for taking time out of their cool-down schedules to come and talk to little old me. And, well, it's little old me signing off with Josh Anderson on cams. Now, we have one more week of racing, of course, before we head off onto the GPVWC summer break. Make sure to join us next week, where on the Tuesday we have Open Series and Formula Challenge. On the Wednesday we have Super Cup, and on Thursday Super League, where we're heading back to the Hungaroring. We should hopefully provide some very entertaining races. The World Sports Series was certainly a handful, for sure. So yes, I'd just like to take these final few moments to make a big thank you to Joshua Anderson for stepping in last minute. First half Factor 2 broadcast. I hope you all enjoyed the cameras. Feel free to go and give him all the praise, because he deserves it. I've been James Kirk, and from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.